Hello, my friends, relatives, esteemed colleagues. I was asked to explain a little bit better role of glycogen. Well, we are being told incorrectly that glycogen is produced inside of our cells in general from the sugar that is in our blood. And this is incorrect. Number one, glycogen is only produced in 3 organs in our body, in the cells of 3 organs. And this is brain, muscles, and liver. Out of the 3 organs, only liver can actually shoot glucose into the blood when it breaks glycogen. Brain cells and muscle cells cannot do this. They are not equipped or programmed to do this, not equipped. They can do it if they get stimulated, but they are not going to get stimulated because the program doesn't allow it. So, how does glycogen appear in a brain cell or in a muscle cell? Well, brain cells and muscle cells create the glycogen, create glucose from fat, from triglyceride. And then this glucose is bonded to protein, and this bond we call glycogen. Once when bonded with protein, the cell cannot use this glucose. It's sitting there. And the only way the cell will be able to use it if you break the bond. And the bond is broken by stress hormones, by steroids. Once when the bond is broken and glucose becomes free, then the cell can use it, and usually does, to create energy out of it. And animal mitochondria, because they are programmed to use fat for energy, and fat does not contain oxygen, to be able to convert fat into energy, oxygen has to be supplied. So animal mitochondria and human mitochondria contains oxygen pump, and it just pop, 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 it just shoots oxygen in so that the carbon can be uncoupled from hydrogen, bonded to oxygen, cause carbon dioxide, and free hydrogen is being left. Hydrogen in bioform is what in physics we call electron. It is your energy, it's your electricity. This is why drinking hydrogen water, it's pure energy. You feel always up. It is not healing you, it's not doing anything else but providing you pure, clean energy. That's all. Well, it's a good thing, no? But doesn't lead to healing. Why do we have glycogen? And why do we have glycogen only in the brain and only in muscles, no in other organs? So everyone who says, well, we have animal carbohydrate is glycogen because it's in our cells. It's not in our cells, it's only in cells of 3 organs. Nothing else. And it is there for situation of life-threatening problem. Bear happens to enter your house, so now you quickly have to think of solution. Run where, how, or maybe you have to protect someone in the house, maybe you have a child, so you have to confront the bear with what, how. So your brain has to work, we say on steroids, okay, because it has to quickly find solution. So just the excitement triggers the steroid release, which will break the bond, and now glucose, pure glucose, is available right there in the brain cell. So this is instant reaction, pop up. And since what happens when you have a fire and you shoot oxygen into it, you have boom, you have explosion. So when glucose hits mitochondria and goes into production of energy, and then oxygen is popped in, and you get wire, you get instant production of very strong energy. And then after you find the solution, or you decide on what you are going to do, now you need extra muscle strength to execute it. So the exactly same thing happens in your muscles. Because muscles also, your muscle cells also contain glycogen, so the same thing will happen. Steroids are going to be released, they hit, they break the bond, glucose becomes available, and your muscle, your strength increases. Muscle strength does not, is not so much related with how big is the muscle, but how much energy it produces. Of course, bigger muscle cell can have more mitochondria, can, but not necessarily. This is why you have these pumped up bodybuilders that can hardly put their penis up, and then you have skinny guys that can take a huge weight and lift it. Okay, because it's all about energy, it's not of the size of the muscle. There are some great videos of this, I think he's a Russian guy that pretends he cleans the gym. You have it on TikTok, I think. And then what these muscles guys can barely put with two hands, he picks up with one hand and cleans under and puts it down. I mean, okay, we have to learn the truth. If you want big muscles, you are manifesting. Doesn't mean that also you are strong. And very often you are not. And you do little running and you do huffing and puffing. You have these big guys go into fight. They're always licked because they very, very quickly run out of energy, run out of oxygen. But he has to feed all these muscles, and they don't have enough mitochondria in them because they are pumped up. It's not a real muscle. Anyway, so mitochondria of animals is geared for a different type of nutrient to produce energy. Not to use a carbohydrate, not to use glucose, but to use fat. But it will use glucose if it's available, but when it does, it is the explosive reaction that creates a lot of energy in very short period of time because it's explosive reaction. This is why I call it booster fuel. And there's no problem if you are using it right away. And even when the sugar is released from glycogen, so now it's within a cell, the cell cannot put it into the blood. So you are not going to raise blood sugar levels because your muscles and your brain have released, liberated glucose from glycogen. But the storage of glucose or glycogen is very small in the cell. So you have maybe for a couple of minutes enough. It's just actually to do the first instantaneous reaction because it's right there. You have the booster right in your brain and right in your muscle. So you quickly go with the idea and you quickly have the power because it takes a little bit time before the same thing happens in the liver, and then liver has to shoot it in the blood, and then blood has to distribute it to the cells. So this takes a little bit of time. This is why you have this little amount of glycogen in the brain and in the muscles for instant reaction. And then as soon as liver shoots glucose into the blood, as soon as blood levels rise of glucose rise above the radar, now switch is triggered on pancreas to release insulin. And then when insulin is released, now the cells in the body, all the cells in the body, are going to be supplied with glucose. Otherwise, they are not capable of absorbing this glucose without transporter, which is GLUT. You always have small amount of sugar, regular amount of sugar, which is there to provide cells with carboxyl group when they are producing amino acids, creating proteins. And whenever a cell needs a little bit of sugar, it sends transporter, GLUT, and then GLUT brings it in without necessity of insulin. We should not have daily presence of insulin in the blood, only when blood sugar levels increase and the switch is triggered, which should happen only when you are in a stress, because liver did the job. Unfortunately, we are triggering this every time we eat carbohydrate. Not regular carbohydrate, but this digestive carbohydrate, dietary carbohydrate, what I call it. The carbohydrate that was stripped of cellulose, so it becomes free, which is processed or cooked. Often I'm encountering, well, you say we should not eat carbohydrates and you recommend banana shake, and banana is carbohydrate. Yeah, but banana is food that you eat raw. And all the sugar, all the starch is within cells of banana whose membrane is made out of cellulose. The little bit of fructose that is laced on the outside is giving the sweetness. It's not the starch inside because it's not sweet. It is actually what fruits are laced for. This is the plant tricking you. Look, I have something good for you, tastes good, come on, eat it. And then you spread the seeds. And plant doesn't care to feed you, doesn't give you the energy. The energy is there to provide to the seed. So when you poop, you give plenty of food and the seed that you didn't break because you just distributed it for it to grow. You cannot digest it because it's always within the cellulose. So now, if we have a diabetic body, why we become diabetics? Not because our liver gets high wire and starts shooting insulin for no reason in the blood. It is because we eat the crap. We did exactly what Bible describes, that Eve took the forbidden food and served it to Adam. Why? Because she heated up some root. Or, if we believe the platelets of Sumerians that describe that gods came, the Anunnaki, and they showed them how to cultivate seeds and how to prepare them, how to make bread. Well, that's exactly what then was done. And since women are the one that cook, must be the Eve that heated up the seed to burst it, grain to burst it and make bread out of it. The first bread was not even heated that much. But the seed was broken down first. Okay? So as soon as you break the shell of a seed, the seed has then free carbohydrate, free starch, which will be absorbed. You take oatmeal. It doesn't come as a seed, it's smashed. You put it in the water, you mix it, the white stuff that is in there, this is your starch. It releases when you break the shell of the seed. Every flour is pure toxic carbohydrate. Why toxic? Not actually toxic because it is not harming us in any other way than reprogramming us genetically, because it makes possible to raise blood sugar from diet, from what we eat, and then insulin has to be shut in, so you get insulin poisoning every day. Insulin is abrasive to push the sugar into the cells, and then more you do this, more sugar comes, you start limit number of mitochondria because you overproduce energy, and you slowly go into diabetes. So diabetes, pre-diabetic state, what they call, which is the beginning of diabetes, is basically nothing more than a very high rate of sugar absorption because there is a big storage of GLUT. A lot of transporting mechanisms, so very big amounts of glucose can be absorbed from the intestine into the blood. If you have a small amount of GLUT, no matter how much glucose you eat, you will just be able to absorb the amount that your GLUT can handle. This is why some people eat a lot of starches and they are skinny, and some people eat much less starches and they are fat because they absorb much more because they have more GLUT. Okay, so now this is not about the GLUT, this is about the glycogen. So if we are diabetics, just diabetes 2 or what you call resistance to insulin, well, just by correcting your diet, in a very short period of time, you can overcome this and you are not diabetic anymore. But if your pancreas was injured because you have received one of those that was overly toxic, or very often on some strong antibiotic, because antibiotics are not what you think they are poisons that put your cells into lockdown, or as Bruce Lipton calls it, fight and flight situation, then you can actually make permanent harm to your organs. In this case, you may not be producing insulin. But this seldom happens this way. It is usually that you are blocked from producing insulin, so you are pronounced diabetic, and then you are being shot with synthetic insulin that is purposely made toxic, so you cannot recover from this anymore. And longer you are on this insulin, the less chance you have to overcome the addiction now to this. So what happens that your liver starts shooting insulin in the blood without really necessity, because you are not in a stress. Or maybe your brain is on a stress because of the poisoning, and it keeps sending signal, and your liver keeps sending out. We don't know yet the mechanism. It's something that, you know, I can start concentrating and figure out, but we'll see where it goes. Anyway, you know, I always get these ideas, so this is when I'm writing article or I'm discussing or showing something, then pop, something clicks. Oh, why you didn't try this? You didn't try that. So, okay, well, we are learning as we go. But knowledge doesn't come from books, doesn't come from what he says, she says, it comes from within. Okay, I'm just guiding you. I'm just showing you that the science we are being told is bogus, it's completely incorrect. It's there to mislead us. And all these scientists that put DR in front of their name to make themselves make believable, okay? Trust me, I'm doctor. Well, you tell me you're a doctor, I know you're scientific schmuck. There's nothing I can learn from you. And definitely I should not do anything that you suggest because I know that you promote science, which we are now debunking, and we are breaking down the whole medical system. So, not medical, medicine system, because it's real sin how it's put together, because it's controlled by the bad guys. So now, if you are diabetic 1, in many cases, you are going to recover. But in some cases, especially if you started with diabetes as a young individual and you are on this synthetic insulin for a number of years, I saw drop of insulin going to maybe 4 units a day, but not complete healing, because liver keeps shooting insulin out. Now we have to see, is it a problem with liver? Most likely not, because liver has no problem produce it and put it in the blood. So why? What is triggering this? Most likely it's a glitch in the brain, producing the need for stress hormone. Also, we have to understand that there is a lot of produce of food is being laced with hormones just to keep us in a sick state. So it could be that the milk has steroid in it, cream that you are using for your skin problems, steroid, some other medication to control your pain has steroid, and it keeps forcing liver, giving liver signal to release glycogen. Your blood sugar is up, even if you are not eating it. So we have to examine all these possibilities. What do we have to change? What is triggering this to overcome this problem? But keep in mind that body is perfectly designed machine, and if you treat it well, if you give it what it needs, proper hydration, water with minerals, plasma, because that's what is in our body. We don't have water, we have plasma. Electroconductive, water through ionic mechanism. And if you stop poisoning it with a food for plants and give it food that it should take, animal products, being it meat, fat, being it eggs, dairy, anything that comes from animals, it's fine. So the body is going to recalibrate, and remember raw, because it's about frequency. And heating is shifting frequency. As soon as you change smell, taste, flavor, smell, the on touch consistency, you know that frequencies are changed. It's out of the alignment, and it doesn't serve your body well. So you have to eat as clean, as raw as possible during the healing process. And glycogen, no matter what you do, you will only have in your brain, in your muscles, and in your liver. With it, that brain and muscles cannot shoot it in the blood. It's for their own personal use. And the one in liver will be exposed to the blood when triggered by insulin, or actually when triggered by stress hormones, and then this triggers insulin. Okay, I hope I answered the question, that you understand it a little bit better now. God bless you. Namaste.